Welcome back to this edition of The Tax Lawyer, brought to you by ATG Trust. Robert Wood is my guest, writing in Forbes. He is partner at Wood LLP in San Francisco. This is Medical Marijuana Tax Woes. Rob, always a pleasure. We're going to talk about, I guess, medical marijuana dispensaries, particularly in California here, and the tax treatment, which isn't clear, but as one might expect, as we see here in Arizona, California needs tax revenue, and they're going to try and get it.
Yeah, I think that's the bottom line. I mean, which we can all understand. The states everywhere, certainly California, is in this predicament, need revenue, and so the revenue raisers are trying to, if not to make new law, certainly exploit the law that they have, and medical marijuana seems a likely target, and there are now a number of cases in which the dispensaries are, facing tax bills and having to pay. So sales tax in this case is a big deal. It's a big source of revenue in California, and as they fight battles like the Amazon tax, the California taxing authorities are collecting from dispensaries.
And part of this article is some dispensaries are engaged in what's called caregiving, or their clinics in some way, and that actually does affect the tax treatment in a large manner. Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you say that someone is, or a business is, subject to sales tax. Typically that means if they're making retail sales of tangible personal property, those retail sales are taxable, and that means, I guess, by the specificity of that definition, it means that some of the things that they are doing are not subject to sales tax. So, for example, a wholesale or a sale for resale. If a medical dispensary, dispenses an ounce of medical marijuana pursuant to a prescription, and it costs X dollars, there's a tax. If the sales tax is 8%, it's tacked on and typically collected from the customer. If it's making a bunch of a wholesale sale of many pounds to another dispensary, I don't even know if that's legal, but let's assume it is. They make a sale like that. That's not a retail sale, so there's no sales tax. You have to keep all that straight. And Scott, the thing you're alluding to, which comes up in some of these cases I wrote about, is also very important, and that is services are not included. So the way that some of these medical marijuana dispensaries have gotten out of or defended against big tax bills is by showing that much of their revenue is not for the sale of the marijuana, but rather for sort of consulting services, talking about what kind of cancer or other conditions you have that may be benefited by taking medical marijuana. Or, and I don't know how this works exactly, but I'm told that there are different types of marijuana sold by these dispensaries that are good for different types of illnesses. In other words, it's not sort of one size fits all. And so, once again, all that consulting revenue is not part of a retail sale. At least that's the tack that they have been taking.
It sounds to me like if you're in this kind of business, you better get some professional help to make sure that you are compliant. That'd be safe to say?
Yeah, I think so, and I think for obvious reasons, much of the focus on this kind of a business, there's I don't remember offhand how many states now authorize these, but it's certainly still a minority of states. And the federal law, I believe, has still not been changed, and so I think frequently these kinds of businesses that, if you will, are a little bit on the legal fringe, have focused solely on kind of marijuana type issues, understandably, and making sure that that they're not going to be closed down by the state or by the federal government, and making sure that they're complying with whatever the marijuana related laws are, drug laws. But tax law is unfortunately rather universal, and the state, as long as it's a legal activity, as long as it is a legal activity in the state, they don't care, whether you're selling widgets or marijuana. And so the question is, how do you fit within sort of existing exemptions, such as the services exemption we were talking about from the sales tax? And I think you're absolutely right, Scott. I think a lot of these businesses, as they sort of grow up, if you will, have to deal with some of these more fundamental tax issues.
Mm-hmm. All right, Rob, thank you.
Thank you.
This has been a service of ATG Trust, and you're watching the Legal Broadcast Network.